Everybody, and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video, we will be talking about Donald Trump's best case scenario in the 2024 presidential election. Now, this is not a prediction, this is just the very best that he could possibly do looking at the electoral map in 2024. So, of course, we have Joe Biden. Of course, he will win some states, even in Trump's best case scenario. But this video will be demonstrating the very best Donald Trump could do on his very best election night, what Donald Trump could be able to pull off in the 2024 general election. So starting off, I think, of course, that he would win every state that he won in 2020. This is the 2020 electoral map. And when you look at all of the states he won, 2024 will likely be more Republican. He will likely win more votes than he did in 2020. So therefore, by logic, all of the states that he won in 2020 will go to him again, especially in his best case scenario. So I will fill all of those states in now. That's Utah, Wyoming, Alaska, Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, Nebraska at large, Nebraska's 1st district, as well as Nebraska's 3rd congressional district, Kansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio, Iowa, and Maine's 2nd congressional district. So that puts Donald Trump already at 235 electoral votes. Now, I don't think it is outlandish to say at all that he would also carry the states that he won in 2016. All of the states that he won in 2016. Now, in my actual prediction, in my realistic 2024 prediction, not Donald Trump's best case scenario, in no one's best case scenario, how I actually think things will play out, I don't think that Donald Trump wins every state that he did in 2016. I don't see him right now carrying Arizona, and I don't see him carrying Pennsylvania, and probably not Michigan, as of right now either. But I do think he will pick up Nevada, and then keep Georgia, as well. But in 2016, you see that he won by the narrowest of margins in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, 0.76%, 0.22%, and 0.72%. But when you look at the polls now, this time around, despite how close those states were the first time, you see that not Massachusetts, but in Michigan. Now this is the narrowest of them all, but you see that Donald Trump leads by almost a percentage point, 0.9. That's more than his margin back in 2016. But then look at Pennsylvania. He leads by 2.1% right now, according to polls. 2.2%. He only won the state by 0.72% in 2016. And then Wisconsin, you see that Donald Trump currently leads in polls by 1.6%. Again, he only won it by 0.7. So he is overperforming in these polls. And in his best case scenario, I definitely think that he will, align with with what polls are predicting, that or he overperforms, right, in his very best case scenario, what polls are predicting. But also, he would, get what he got, or more, I should say, in 2016. And in 2016, he got the blue wall. He got Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So I definitely think that in his best case scenario, he could win those. And I think that in any realistic scenario, Donald Trump could win all 3 of those, not even in his best case scenario. And already he has won the presidency. But, that was obvious. And then we come to Georgia, because in my actual prediction, this is another state, before I get into that Trump won in 2016. And as I said, I think that every state that Donald Trump won in 2016 as well as 2020 will go to him. And in 2016, you see that Georgia went to Donald Trump by 5.1%, which was, a pretty healthy margin. That's a likely margin. But then in 2020, it miraculously flipped to Biden. He won it by 0.24%. But I think that he would be able, in Donald Trump's best case scenario, he would be able to win Georgia once again. I mean, just looking at polling here, it looks much more in line with what we saw in 2016. with the results, because he currently leads by 5.6% in polls. That's more than he won the state in 2016, when the state was much more Republican, when it hadn't trended too much towards the Democrats as it did in 2020 with Biden winning the state. So polls are really showing a big win for Trump in Georgia, and of course, in his best, would absolutely go to him. Another state our last state that went to him in 2016 that we haven't characterized yet is the state of Arizona. I think that Trump would be able to win the state of Arizona, considering that he won it by 3.5%. He won it in 2016, and then Biden flipped it back. Biden only won it by 11,000 votes, just 11,000 votes. It was, in terms of the raw vote, it was the narrowest margin of any state in the 2020 election. And again, polls are showing that Trump will win Arizona in 2024, so he should be able to outperform that. So now we have every single state that Donald Trump did not win in 2016 or 2020. These are the states that these are the states that both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden won in 2020. And I forgot one, I see Nebraska 2nd District. That would go to Donald Trump in his best case scenario. But now we have every state that went to Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. So the question is, which of these states would Donald Trump flip in his best case scenario? So here are some where I don't think that Donald Trump has any chance of flipping. That would be a state like Hawaii, which voted for Biden by 29 percentage points. It was an absolute blowout. You can't really make up enough ground to win the state of Hawaii in 2024 with that kind of margin. Also, California, Biden won it by, again, another 29% margin. And yes, a lot of these blue states will trend heavily Republican in 2024, but it simply won't come close enough for Donald Trump to really even come all that close. Other states where Trump really doesn't have much of a shot, Maryland, Delaware, Vermont, I would say. I don't think that, Trump will have any sort of shot in these states at all in 2024. And there will be a few more, but we'll get to those. But these are the absolute no ways, even in Trump's best case scenario. But one state that I think that Donald Trump would be able to flip in 2024 in his best case scenario is Nevada. And interestingly, even though it went to Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in 2016 and 2020, I actually think in my current prediction, not even in any best case scenario, that Donald Trump does win the state. And that's because of this heavily trending Republican Latino population who really turns out in high numbers in presidential elections in the Sun Belt, but especially Nevada. Very high Latino populations here, and they are really going away from the Democratic Party towards the Republican Party. So, and then looking at the numbers here, in 2020, it really surprises me that Republicans haven't been able to clinch the state, considering how much party registration and everything, how Latinos have been trending towards the Republicans in such high numbers lately. Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden both won it by 2.4%. And in 2022, the Republicans, they did flip the governor's mansion, but they did lose the critical Senate rates, which they were expected to win. But, again, this is Trump's best case scenario. There's one argument to be made that he doesn't win it in the actual election. But in his best case scenario, I definitely think that Nevada goes to Donald Trump. I also think that Maine at large could surprise a lot of people, and that could go Republican if Trump runs up his numbers in the 2nd Congressional District. There was one poll conducted that actually showed Donald Trump winning the state of Maine. This is the 2nd Congressional District here. You see this poll showed that Trump was leading by 20%, Biden only leading by 8% in the 1st District, and then Trump leading by 6% in the 2nd in the at-large state, in Maine at-large. So, if those numbers if he is able to perform somewhere near those numbers, now that obviously overestimates Trump a little bit, but in his best case scenario, he could probably get near or at those numbers. I also think that New Hampshire would be able to flip Trump in his best case scenario because we have a lot of independent-minded, more centrist. Not even centrist. I mean, they are conservative-leaning voters. Even a lot of the Democrats and independents in New Hampshire. But we do have a lot of independents in New Hampshire who are willing to, switch sides. The crosstabs tell it all. the crosstabs, or split ticket voting, I should say. That is the act of voting, one party for president and then voting the other party down the line, right, in the Senate or gubernatorial elections. In a state that has a lot of split ticket voting, such as New Hampshire or Maine or Alaska, or Minnesota or Colorado, those states, has a lot of split ticket voting. That tells you how much, or how independent these states are. So I think that there would be a lot of voters, even though there are lots of Democrats in New Hampshire who would be willing to move over to the Trump campaign, so Trump would be able to win the state. Now moving back, I don't think that Washington is really up for grabs. Biden won it by 19, so I think that this would definitely come down to a likely margin. I forgot to do margins, unfortunately. I just realized that. I really should have done margins. I don't know why I didn't, because I always do. But still, Washington, I think it could get close, but not close enough. I don't see a 20-point shift. I think that would be a little extreme. And then, moving on now. Let's see. We'll go back to Trump. No, we won't. We'll go to Colorado now. And Colorado is a state that, in 2016, it looked like, in any real circumstance, not even a best case scenario circumstance, that Trump actually could take Colorado, because it was a swing state not too long ago. Hillary Clinton won it by less than 5%, only a lean margin victory back in 2016. But since then, it went to a 4.9% victory to a 13.5% victory for Biden in 2020. It really has become much more Democratic, and it'll only become more Democratic by 2024, I think. So even in his best case scenario, I don't see Trump being able to take Colorado. But New Mexico is different, and I think that Trump, in his very best case scenario, could take New Mexico. And again, that is because of the Latino turnout trending towards Republicans. That is very apparent in many states, and it has been a little bit in New Mexico, but not as apparent in other states. So if Donald Trump if Donald Trump could be able to, get those Latino voters out to the polls, I think that he could really make a state like New Mexico close and actually winnable. So Illinois is tough, but Biden did win it by 17%. They have a very Democratic history. Clinton won it by 17 too. Obama won it by 17 as well. Obama won it by 25 in 2008. So yeah, Illinois, with all the crime around Chicago, that's a major issue for a lot of voters in New York and in Illinois right now. But still, too many Democrats. I just don't see it. Illinois will stay with Biden in 2024, even in Trump's best case scenario. Biden won Delaware by 19. It's his home state. It probably stays with him. Virginia, though, Biden won it by 10. But when you look at the numbers, back in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the state by 5%, and Barack Obama won it by 3.9%. So what does this show you? Mitt Romney was Obama's opponent, Mitt Romney, in 2012, was a more centrist, more corporate kind of Republican, who was acceptable to these, college-educated white voters in Virginia, who do tend to be more centrist, even a lot of the Democrats. But Donald Trump, on the other hand, this is one of the very few states in 2016 that actually trended towards Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton made gains in Virginia compared to Obama's performance in 2012. Very few states went like that. But what it shows you is that Trump, being such an outsider and anti-establishment, it doesn't bode well with these, college-educated, very wealthy, Nikki Haley type voters, right? Around Washington, D.C., in the DMV area. So a state like Virginia, they have shown time and time again that they are so anti-Trump, even though many of the Republicans, that I think that even in Trump's best case scenario, that Biden would take Virginia. And I forgot to characterize D.C., of course, that goes to Joe Biden. Moving on now. Let's see. So we have the state of Minnesota. And this is a state that went to Hillary Clinton by only 1.5% in 2016. Then it went to Biden by 7.1%. I don't think that either of these performances is really that good. Obviously, especially Hillary Clinton's in 2016. But I honestly don't think, considering how much Democrats outnumber Republicans in Minnesota, I don't even think that Biden's 7% margin in Minnesota is even that good of a margin, considering the circumstances of 2020. So I think that in Trump's best case scenario, he would be able to take the state of Minnesota, with a lot of this Democratic turnout decreased, depressed across the U.S. Maine's first district went to Biden by 23. Hillary Clinton won it by 14. Almost a safe margin even for Hillary Clinton. I don't see it going to Donald Trump. That would go to Joe Biden. And then we have Connecticut and Rhode Island. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won Connecticut by 13.6 and Rhode Island by 15.5. Biden won Connecticut by 20, and he won Rhode Island by 21%. So, considering these margins, will Donald Trump really be able to, gain 20%? No, he will not. He can make it close, but he's not getting it that close. There's nothing major going on in Connecticut or Rhode Island that would make it that these states would be competitive. And then we have New York and New Jersey. Lots of talk around these states because Donald Trump is actually targeting both of these states, and he held rallies recently in both of these states. Now, I am here to say that, even though a lot of Trump supporters have faith in both of these states, it's outlandish to think that Donald Trump could possibly win either of these states. Now, it helps with the congressional races because there are a lot of congressional races in both of these states, so a good performance from Trump getting out the vote in New York and New Jersey could definitely, help him down the ballot, I guess, help the Republicans. But Donald Trump, not so much. Again, he could make gains in these states. That is for certain. But it simply will not be enough. And the polls are indicating that. Not a single poll shows Donald Trump really coming even that near, that close to winning these states. So New York and New Jersey will stay with Biden in 2020. Then we have Oregon. So Oregon's tough because I definitely think that, with the everything, the protests and the decriminalization of all drugs in Oregon, that a lot of voters are done really with the Democratic Party in Oregon. Hillary Clinton won it by only 11, and Biden won it by 16. So, Oregon, I could definitely see as a state that trends a lot towards Donald Trump in his best case scenario in 2024. A lot. But we do have to consider the fact that in 2022, when maybe crime and the decriminalization of drugs and everything like that was at its peak, concern for that was at its peak. I guess I don't have the results up. But in 2022, still, even with a very weak Democratic candidate for governor and a very strong Republican candidate for governor, Democrats still took the governor's mansion. So I would say that Biden does win Oregon still. So in Donald Trump's best case scenario, in his very, very, very best case scenario, I think that he wins 334 electoral votes. Joe Biden wins 204. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all enjoyed. It helps out a lot if you subscribe and all that, and leave a comment, drop a like. And I will see you all later.